Hey guys, Josiah here at EasyCaters.com. Just wanted to go over the trades for the day and some volume analysis here. On MU here we had a small gap down, large sell-off bar, and while this was forming you could kind of see some panic entering in the scene. A lot of churn happened down here there near the bottom, and large orders stepped in to stop the move, and it immediately reverses back up and totally negates the early morning move, and then we continue up with this powerful opening drive here. So this context is long for me right now. Closed the gap, we've broken above yesterday's action here, but when this formed, this is just too wide of a candle. It kind of barely touched the MA here, so in some way you could say this was a valid entry. However, it's just too wide of a candle for it to be an attractive entry for me. But I'm definitely looking long, and we still have some commitment to the upside here. Still too wide of a red candle here for me to want to buy that on a break of the high. It's just not a good risk to reward ratio. But you can see here, this is basically the perfect entry candle for me right here. So you can see we have an attempt to break down and start a down leg, but this was all absorbed and it closed above the MA here. All of this action is closing above the MA. And then we have this one that comes down below the MA, crosses the MA on light volume and low commitment. And so this is what I look for an entry, and I buy over a high of this candle as it breaks, as the low commitment in this bar gets negated. And so that will run some stop orders from people who were trying to get short here, and it's also a perfect continuation point for everybody who sees this context from the early morning and wants to get in on the pullback. So, and you can see this took you straight to target in one bar, and then it just continued. And we had one opportunity here to possibly have gotten long over the top of this candle, but it didn't pan out. So this was the move here, and you can see the volume signal here. So like I always say, these super high commitment bars often mark the high of a pivot or a low of a pivot, and end up being stopping volume. These indicate that large orders have stepped in, and when you see this, especially on like a square narrow range high volume bar, that indicates a lot of churn happened there, and the sentiment has changed. And so we have this down move, and this so after seeing this is a kind of a signal that things might have shifted gears to the downside now. This could have been a valid buy signal, but with this, it's not as good of a buy signal. This could have been a potential sell signal, short signal, on a break below the low of that candle. And you can see that this worked pretty well and got to so that got you to your 2R target down here, and then we reversed back up. And this was almost a signal, not quite. And it's good because it would have stopped out had it been a signal. And then we kind of get into this choppy stuff. And this is what I really don't like to trade, and I try my best to avoid, because this particular system works well in trending moves, especially like in the morning and the afternoon. But during the lunch hour and the range-bound markets, it's just not as easy to catch the to catch the moves with this particular system. You can look for these signals for the extremes where, like, you know, you have stopping volume here, stopping volume here. So if you get in at these extremes where you see these high commitment bars come in and just short the low of that or buy the high of this, you know, that's a potential way of trading a range-bound day. But so far I don't get involved in that too much. I mostly trade this as a trend type of system, short-term trends, and just basically try to get the swing, the middle of the swing, and capture that and move on for the day. But yeah, you can see there's a high commitment bar here. High commitment bar ends the move down here. High commitment bar up here ends this swing. It's pretty consistent. It's not always obvious, but you'll be surprised how many of those signals start and stop moves. So let's see here. We had this being range bound. I'm just not interested at this point. This could be a long above this the high of this red candle, but it's not a great long because we're just chopping back and forth through the MA. We need some strong context in one way or another for this to make a lot of sense to take risk. This one, in this case, definitely worked. And this would have gotten to 2 R's. We had a second entry here. This one would have been a trail to break even, it looks like. Got to 1 R, so at 1 R I usually trail to half or full, half or zero risk, and so that would have been a trail break even. I definitely would have done that in the late morning, early lunch hour where volume's drying up and things are starting to look rangy. But in this case, I didn't take either of these two trades. These were both valid entries, but I didn't take either of these. I was actually doing some work on some investment properties I have. But so these would have been two valid entries, and this one would have trailed out about break even. So right now I think I'm looking at 1. If you were aggressive enough to take the short here, this could have been 2. That's probably 3 or 4 R's here and 2 R's here. So we'll say that's 5 R's plus the potential for 2 more here. 2 R's here. So that's 7 R's and then a break even. This one was almost a short signal, but not quite. Let's see. So at this point, I'm really wanting to see a break away from this range, something giving context and direction. And so there is a breakout below this range established through here. And so I could start to see getting short here on a light volume pullback. And it looks like we got a light volume candle here. It does touch the MA, so I could, it's not great because it's kind of a wide range compared to the surrounding. I mean, it's about the same as all the surrounding candles. It's not narrow or anything. Yeah, so it doesn't even trigger. And let's see, there's another signal right here. So light volume, low commitment, and it does trigger in here. And so that one gets to 1, maybe 1.5 to 2 R's there. That one probably would have been, let's see, 1, low at 47. By 57, so 10 cents. Yeah, so this to me, this would have only been a trail to break even. I wouldn't have taken a target on this. So that would have been a break even. This one is not a great entry because it's so high volume and commitment. Let's see what else we have. Here is a valid short signal. Low commitment green bar. Triggers in. Yes, and that one worked for, it looks like 2 R's there. And then it reversed strongly up here. And no signals there. Nothing really through here because this is this would have been the opportunity for something to show up, and it didn't give us a signal there. It's kind of just stuck in this sideways pattern. There's a down context. No entries. Yeah, there's an entry candle signal right there. There's a break below it. It's quickly absorbed, which doesn't look good. And it looks like it would have been a stop out right just by a hair there. You could have aggressively retaken it, but yeah, I probably would not have, honestly, just to be honest. And that one would have stopped out too if you had taken that. And that looks like about it because we're getting into the close right now. So yeah. So it looked like there was about 7 hours worth of trades to have today. I've only captured this one for the morning. And honestly, this one was probably one of the best ones for the day. This one was a decent signal, and it did go about 2 R's. But I would have had to been aggressive to grab that one, and I was already gone for the morning at that point. But this was a nice little setup right here. Just high volume, high context move upward, low commitment pullback, and shot straight up to target. If you look at this chart, just glancing at it real quick, you can see really, and it's really apparent that, you know, high context or a high commitment, high commitment, high commitment, high commitment, high commitment, high commitment, high commitment. You know, there's high commitment sometimes that shows up in random places that that don't really make a lot of sense, but yeah, I mean, in situations like this, you can easily see how high commitment ended and started these different moves. So that's how I trade, and I think hopefully you can see the benefit in that, and where the rationale comes from and how it seems to play out pretty well on the charts. There's another example there where a high commitment bar marked the high of the pivot and so forth. But anyway, that were the trades today. Hopefully that helps with your analysis. I'm going to do a video soon here going over all the different rules that I have for this system, and maybe you can take that and make it your own and improve it even further. But anyway, until next time, if you find these videos helpful for your analysis, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button down there, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.